Let's talk about Etsy, but realistically. Because right now, Etsy is one of those platforms where you'll constantly see people saying things like, I made $10,000 selling digital products, or I started my print-on-demand shop and quit my job. And to be fair, some people are absolutely making serious money on Etsy. That part is real, but what usually gets left out is how competitive and, what it realistically takes to get that traction. Most beginners think Etsy is about opening a shop and uploading products. That's not really the business. The business is attention, specifically getting someone to stop scrolling, click your listing, and trust your product enough to buy it. That's the real game. And honestly, one of the biggest advantages Etsy has compared to a lot of other online business models is that the demand is already there. People go to Etsy ready to buy. You're not trying to convince random people they need something. You're placing products in front of people who are already searching for them. That's why Etsy is still one of the better beginner-friendly platforms if you approach it correctly. Now, the first mistake that people make is trying to invent completely original ideas from scratch. Now, that sounds creative, yes, but usually it just wastes time. A much smarter approach is studying what's already working and then building on top of it. Some people call this shop hacking, but really it just means researching successful shops and understanding pattern. And this is something Etsy makes unusually easy because a lot of the marketplace activity is public and you can see which shops are getting sales, what their listings look like, what type of products they focus on, how they structure titles, how they design mockups, and even roughly how active they are. So if you click on any one of these shops, you are going to see what they're doing. If they're successful, all you have to do is to replicate that success. You have to study, you have to invest time in order to understand what they're doing, and then just replicate the same process. This is really important because beginners usually spend too much time guessing. They create products they personally like instead of products customers already buy. That's backwards. The smarter move is validating demand first. For example, if you want to sell printable wool art, let me just search for it. So printable wool art, just like this. If you want to work with this, if you want to work with digital planners, if you want to work with pet portraits or print-on-demand clothing, you should check first whether successful shops already exist. Newer shops are entering the market successfully, so that's one more thing that you have to look out for, and customers are actively buying in that category. All of this info is available on Etsy. You just have to go and see the shops. If there are no successful examples at all, that's usually a warning sign. But if you see multiple newer shops growing in the niche, that's actually a good thing. It proves demand still exists. Now, I want to make something very clear here. Researching successful shops doesn't mean copying them. That's where people get confused. The goal here is to understand what works collectively across multiple successful shops. You're studying patterns, not duplicating someone's store. For example, maybe you notice certain mockup styles perform better, certain fonts keep appearing, or certain colors get used repeatedly, or specific listing image layouts dominate the first page. That is valuable information because it tells you what customers already respond to. And honestly, this is why Etsy is so much easier than trying to build a random Shopify store from zero. The data is right in front of you if you want to look at it. Now let's talk about listings because this is where most shops either succeed or completely fail. Your listing is basically your sales page. And on Etsy, your thumbnail is everything, just like on YouTube. If your thumbnail doesn't stop someone from scrolling, nothing else matters because nobody clicks. A lot of beginners focus too much on the product itself and not enough on presentation, but Etsy shoppers behave very emotionally. They react visually first. Your product could actually be great, but if the thumbnail looks amateur, if it looks bad, customers will skip it instantly. That's just the way it is. That's why mockups matter so much, especially for print on demand or maybe digital products. Good mockups make products feel real, and they help customers imagine owning the item already. So it's a pretty important thing. And of course, this is another place where AI is changing things. Creating decent mockups used to require photography setups or expensive designers. Now you can generate strong lifestyle images much faster. But again, tools alone are not enough. Taste still matters. Most AI-generated Etsy listings still look generic because people rely entirely on automation without understanding what actually looks appealing. Now, beyond thumbnails, keywords are another major factor. Etsy is still a search engine at the end of the day. If your listings don't target the right keywords, customers never even see them. This is where beginners usually become too broad. They'll title something like a cute mug instead of something more specific like funny nurse coffee mug gift or minimalist neutral kitchen wall art. Specificity matters because buyers search specifically. And honestly, good keywords alone can get your product impressions over time, but impressions are not enough. Once Etsy starts testing your listing in search, your images and product idea determine whether customers actually click and buy. That's why all these elements work together. Now let's talk about product ideas themselves, because this matters more than people realize. Most Etsy buyers are not looking for generic products. They want products that feel personal. They want products that feel emotional, trendy, or niche specific. That's why boring copycat designs struggle. If customers already have 500 nearly identical options, there's no reason to choose yours. You don't need to reinvent products completely, but you do need to add some kind of angle or uniqueness. Maybe it's just a different style. Maybe it's a different audience. Maybe it's just more emotional message or a more aesthetic presentation. Something needs to stand out slightly. And honestly, the best way to understand this is to just browse Etsy like a customer would do. Just stop thinking like a seller for a second. Think about what actually makes you click. Which listings feel more attractive? Which products immediately communicate value? Which thumbnails look more premium? That mindset shift matters a lot. Now, another thing that beginners underestimate is volume. Most successful Etsy shops are constantly uploading new listings. Constantly. This surprises because people, they assume big shops eventually finish their source and just collect sales forever. That's not how it works. Etsy also changed, so you can't set and forget it. The bigger shops usually keep testing new products all the time. And this is important because Etsy rewards activity and relevance, so you will never stop working. This is never going to become passive work. It's not like a get-rich-quick scheme set and forget type of thing. The more quality listings you have, the more opportunities you create for customers to discover your shop. A lot of beginners, they upload 20 or 30 listings. They see limited results and they stop. But realistically, Etsy is partly a numbers game. More listings create more entry points into your store. This doesn't mean uploading garbage products endlessly. Quality still matters, but quantity matters too. The strongest shops usually combine both. And honestly, mindset plays a huge role here as well. Most people quit too early because they interpret early failure as a proof the business won't work for them. But almost every successful Etsy seller went through a period where nothing really happened. The difference is that successful sellers usually keep improving instead of stopping. They refine thumbnails, they improve tiles, they test new ideas, they upload more listings, and they slowly build momentum. That's why I think one of the biggest mindset shifts is understanding that your job is not making money. Your job is creating high quality listings consistently. The sales come later as a result of that process. If you focus only on money from the beginning, you get emotional every time something doesn't sell. But if you focus on improving listings and building inventory, you think much more long-term. And long-term thinking matters on Etsy because momentum compounds. One successful listing can bring traffic into your shop, which increases trust, which improves your conversion rates, which helps future listings perform better. Now, realistically, Etsy is not easy anymore. competition is higher than it used to be. AI is increasing the amount of low quality products flooding the platform, but at the same time, that actually creates opportunity because most sellers still do the basics poorly. Most listings still have weak thumbnails, they have weak keywords, they have weak branding, weak product ideas. So if you focus on these fundamentals consistently, you already separate yourself from most beginners. And honestly, that's what Etsy success usually comes down to. Not secret strategies, not luck, just understanding customer behavior better than the average sellers and staying consistent long enough for your shop to gain traction. That's the real game.